Yo, welcome back to the No Butcher Podcast. It's Conklin.
Yeah, what's up, Miss Kai?
And yeah, man, we're back at it, providing you with another, playoff update with what's going on around, round two of playoffs. And, it's been a minute. It's been a minute, right? And a few games has passed by, a few game threes, fours, and fives, even, right? It's some game sixes, right? And we're here just to provide you some updates, and shoot, a lot of things been going on, and let's just get right into it. And Kai, talk to us about, Nuggets and Wolves.
Yeah, right. I believe the last video we had, the series is tied up 2-2. Um, Nuggets respond back, go up 3-2. They win three straight, and then in a big way, Minnesota responds in Game 6 to send it to Game 7. Um, I got the score here. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure they won by 45 points.
Yep.
Which is fucking insane, right? A 45 point win is not only the most in Wolves history, but is also the biggest loss in Nuggets history, right? So safe to say it was not a good night for Denver. They just couldn't hit the wild side of a barn, right? They just could not make any shots. And all credit to Minnesota, right? And especially Rudy Gobert. He got a lot of slack after Game 5 for his defensive performance on Jokic. I believe in that game, Jokic was 8 for 9 when Rudy was his primary defender, right? So the defensive player of the year, he responds back, and right now this sets the stage for Sunday, Game 7, right? Winner take all. Like, this has been an amazing series. I knew it was going to be an amazing series. Conklin said it was going to go 7. I said it was going to go 6, right? So this is definitely this series has definitely been feeding families.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I 100% agree with everything you said, man. Like, I knew coming into this game that the Wolves were looking hot, but I know that the series they played before in the first round, it was against the Suns. You get it. It is the Suns, right? They played no defense, right? I get it, but I don't know. I just had that feeling that in the games in all the four games that they won prior to the Nuggets series, it felt different. It felt different in the sense that you knew there were a storm was brewing. A storm was brewing, right? And so, when the Wolves go up to Denver and give them the first two punches, right, in the mouth. And it's it shows yo, we're here, right? But then but like you said, the Nuggets are defending champions, guys. Defending champions. So we knew that, obviously game 3 was a pivotal game, but as the champions they are, they rightly show that, hey, we're here too. We woke up, right? And then for them to respond back in an elimination game in Game 6 the way they did, just phenomenal, man. Yeah, literally, that's you couldn't draw it up any better. Like you're talking about you score almost 30 points each quarter. Everybody, especially the bench, is going off, right? Everything is flowing, offense and defense, right? And to hold Denver, a good offensive team and defensive team, one of the best balanced team in general, the whole NBA, to hold them to 30% shooting, that is insane, man. And they went 7 of 36 from three. Yeah, nah. That's I get it. I know shooting does count. Sometimes you're not making shots, but they was playing some actual good defense out there, man, making tough shots, whether it's inside the paint or outside the in the perimeter, right? And yeah, I think that was the main story of the game. And going to Game 7 back in Denver, I mean, we'll see who's gonna win the first home game, man. Who's gonna win the first home game, and that'll be the story.
Well, um, if I'm not mistaken, I think Denver won Game 5, so they already won a home game.
Oh,
Um,
well, you know
but
what I mean.
but
Yeah.
it's one of those things where it's it's anybody's series right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously, after winning 3 games, 2 of them on the road, that shows that Denver is well equipped of winning, beating this team. But also coming off of that big win for Minnesota, you can't, like you just said, you can't draw up any better. Like, your team has to have, the utmost confidence in themselves, right? So both of these teams know, okay, the team across from us is beatable. We've beaten them 3 times, so it's one of those series where in Game 7s where it literally can go either way. And I'm just excited, right? Because if Denver's able to make it out of this round, they would be the first defending champ to make it out of the second round since I believe 2018 Warriors, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's recent history in and of itself. And if the Minnesota Timberwolves are able to make it out of the second round, I believe this would be the first time they've gone to a conference final since Kevin Garnett was out there. So, big time history and legacy changing moments can be made for both sides of the ball. So, definitely on Sunday, we'll be looking forward to it. But kind of speaking of that, we have another
Mm-hmm.
game 7 that's scheduled for Sunday, and that's the Knicks and Pacers.
Yeah, it's Knicks and Pacers, man. Like, heading to this game, I'm not gonna lie. I thought this series would have been over in 5 or 6, right? But the Pacers, they're going opposite of what they were known to be as a team, as a fast paced team to just on offense, right, and not play that much defense. But what they've shown me over this past few games is that like they have the potential to play defense. Like they have guys guys that do play good defense when isolated, but for me, it was that like throughout the whole season into first round and everything, right? They just didn't play good team defense, right? And that was the one worry for me when they played the Knicks team that it's basically different, like opposite playing styles. You got one that's like high flow offense and everything, and then not really doing much on the defensive side. But you're talking about a team with the Knicks where they hustle for everything, like they hustle on offense and defense. It's just a high motor team, right? But the Pacers, shout out to Halliburton. Shout out to Halliburton. Shout out to Siakam, who had a big game in Game 6, right? And Turner, and hey, and we keep on saying this. These two role players for the Pacers, man, key role players, T.J. McConnell and Opie Toppin, right? And let's not get twisted. Like, obviously, they're not the superstars or the main guys of the team, but that's what makes it cool. That like you get to see guys now, like when you're in the playoffs, everybody's watching the game, and there's sometimes like they might not, many people might not know you, but when you get to playoffs and you show up, the world will know your name, right? And I just feel like these guys, especially I mean for the Pacers team, they're still pretty young for the most part. They're still getting their feet wet, so it's going to be definitely interesting. I think for the Knicks point of view, I think it's showing a little bit more and more now that that Brunson, just having Brunson alone as the scorer of a team is going to only go get you so far. And I'm not saying that they're not going to win Game 7. I have them. I have them winning Game 7, right? But I just think if they want to take a next step, and this is something for them in the offseason, and we'll talk about it. But I just think they just need to add another, not necessarily star, but another guy that can actually get a bucket on his own when Brunson is getting pressure or not making shots, right? And there's like news about OG maybe coming back and Josh Hart, but they're both questionable right now. And to have, and I'm I talked to my a friend that's an Knicks fan, and he has a fear that like if both of them are out, they might be knocked out, man. They might lose to Game 7 if they don't have both, right? But hey, it's NBA playoffs. All that, everybody's banged up. Everybody's banged up. So it's definitely gonna be interesting.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like if the Knicks don't make it out of the second round, right, they lose game 7, they're the biggest, cautionary tale in terms of just how injury can really derail your season, right? You're talking about your second leading scorer and, all-star caliber player in Julius Randle, who has not been for the team for this entire run, right? Your best defender, OG Anunoby, being out, if Josh Hart is out, like it's just like every single game, it's like they lose a guy, right? Like they haven't been whole this entire run, and that's why it's been so impressive the fact that they've been able to get this far, right? Because even with a fully healthy roster, nobody really had the Knicks really getting this far at the beginning of the season, right? So, definitely, Jalen Brunson has been trying to do all he can. But some notes I have for Game 5, right? Obviously, Knicks won that game, and the biggest, real like show was like Indiana, right? Their total rebounds for the game was 29 to the Knicks
Yeah.
53, right? The Knicks had 20 offensive rebounds. Um, Indiana had 18 turnovers to the Knicks 9 and points in the paint. Indiana had 36 points in the paint and the Knicks had 62, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you go to game 6 and it completely flipped the script.
Yeah.
Indiana had 47 total rebounds to the New York Knicks 35. Then turnovers were both pretty equal, eight to the Indiana, 7 to New York. But this one was like, wow, right? Indiana, 62 points in the paint to the Knicks, 38.
Yeah.
That
Insane.
was like when you talk about a complete, just completely turn the tables, like just from one game to the next. And this is not something that I really anticipated from, the Indiana Pacers that they would score, you know, over half their points in the paint, right? You think about a fast pace, getting up a bunch of shots. You don't really see them as an interior, team, but they kind of have changed their identity really ever since they got Pascal Siakam because that's given them a guy to throw in the low post and watch him work. So this is very similar to the Nuggets and the Timberwolves, right? When you go into Game 7, it's anybody's series. Like if I had to choose, um, both, for both series, I would go. I would rock with Denver, and I would. It really, really depends on the availability of New York's guys. But if they're healthy,
Yep.
I like the Knicks. If they're not, I mean, shit, I could very easily see Indiana getting that win. But
Mm-hmm.
we got 2 Game 7s tomorrow on Sunday, man. We eating good.
Yeah, for sure. And just to comment right off of that about the Pacers and Knicks is like I saw this funny stat that they pulled up during the game, and it's true. The basically whoever's going to win Game 7 between the Pacers and the Knicks, it's going to come down to rebounding. It's going to come down to rebounding. Every series, I mean, every game throughout their series so far, with the team that the most rebounds, they won the game. Simple as that, right? And if you don't have Josh Hart, if you don't have OG, it's going to be really hard to beat this Pacers team, right? And it just goes to show that um, no matter what, you can't underestimate a team, right? And I'm not gonna lie, I kind of did underestimate the Pacers, and I can't lie about that, right? Who would have thought they could push the Knicks to Game 7, or
Yeah,
no, or even before the season started? Like who would have
yeah,
thought that they're on the brink of an Eastern Conference Finals,
yeah.
playoff berth, which is insane, right? But speaking about the Celtics, you know they take care of business, and they won against the Cavs 4-1.
hmm Yeah, you know, this is a series that it's not much to really talk about. And that's no disrespect to the Celtics or to the Cavs. It's just we all expected this, right? I believe I had them winning in 6, so they actually wound up winning in 5. Because Donovan Mitchell went down. But hats off to some of these guys. Evan Mobley, 33.7 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 stocks. Marcus Morris Sr., 25 points. He shot 10 for 13. He shot 5 for 6 from the 3-point line.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then, I'll leave him for last. You got Jason Tatum, 25 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists, 4 stocks. Al Horford, 22 points, 15 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 stocks. Derek White, 18 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. And the guy I left for last is Darius Garland, right? This is season on the line. 11 points, shot 4 for 17, 0 for 4 from 3, and 9 assists, right? And here's a stat for you. And the 12 games, playoff games that Darius Garland has played this season, he's averaged 15.7 points, 3.6 rebounds, 5.8 assists, and these are the splits: 42.7, 35.2, and 81. Like that's just not going to cut it,
Not good
especially
enough.
considering the fact that a lot of these games Donovan Mitchell didn't play, right? And you would expect for him to kind of take that role, but he has really regressed like catastrophically since they've gotten Donovan Mitchell. And there's been a lot of discourse around, you know, uh, should they trade him? Should they trade Donovan Mitchell? Like, and I feel like something has to be done.
Mm-hmm.
whether it's because you're making way too fucking much money for you to be given these performances, right? Like, and it's unfortunate because this is a guy that I thought would have like kind of what Tyrese Maxey has done. I thought
Mm.
Darius Garland was going to do that, right? You talk about a guy that is a crafty scorer, really. I mean, even still, he is definitely one of the best playmakers in the league. In terms of assists and dishing the ball, but it's just like I don't know if it's aggression. I don't know if it's just the shot not landing, but something isn't working and something's got to give, right? Because again, like if you're making max contract money, you have to be giving max contract performances. So it's definitely going to be a situation where we'll see how they shake up this team in the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, this, ever since Donovan Mitchell got hurt after game two or game three rather, it was wraps from there. I mean, for one guy to go down, there's got to be a guy to step up, right? And like you said, that was a perfect moment for Garland to show what he's worth, right? And for you to get outplayed throughout this whole series by your backup and Karis LeVert, right? And honestly, you should be the second best player on this team, right? Which you haven't lived up to it. Like the second best player throughout this whole Cavs series, Cavs playoffs, besides Donovan Mitchell and Jared Allen, is Mobley, right? Mobley and LeVert. Like to talk about a guy in Darius Garland being like the number 5 player, the 5th best player, or even 6th best player on the team on a playoff run, it's just not good. It's not. It's not it, right? Especially when you walk up and play against a powerhouse, a juggernaut like the Celtics, you can't have shit shows like that. You just can't, right? Because like you said, the Celtics, the reason why they're really good and why they're maybe favored in general since throughout this whole season about winning the whole thing, it's because they have firepower. They can get offense from either the starting five or the bench. Anybody can get hot, right? And for you to not take advantage of Donovan Mitchell being out, and then you getting more shots and more better looks or stuff like that, or even when he was in the game, right? To like waste those opportunities, it's just not going to cut it, right? And heading into this offseason, which we'll talk about it when we get there, but he's definitely a candidate up there for a trade. You have to, yeah. If you're the Cavs a GM, you got to consider it. You have to, right? And so it's definitely interesting from the Cavs perspective in that standpoint. But on a Celtics point of view, I mean, there's nothing much else to say. They took care of business. Took care of business, right? And so the Celtics, one thing I'm scared for them is that I'll be honest, if they play the Knicks or the Pacers, I don't think it's going to scare them as much. I'll be honest, right? Maybe the Knicks if they're healthy, maybe, right? But my worry for the Celtics is that for them to pretty much coast essentially throughout the whole Eastern playoffs so far, I feel like for them to not feel any type of blood until the finals is going to be very very alarming, and not alarming in the sense, but like in the sense of like I want to see how they respond because we haven't seen them respond in a way. Because like it's one thing to lose against the Celtics and then like or like to like what's it called? Who they play the eighth seed? They played the
So first round,
first round.
play
Who
the
they play
Heat.
the Heat? Yeah, it's one thing to play against the Heat and the Cavs and lose one game and then bounce back. But it's another thing when you play like a Timberwolves team, a Nuggets team, a Thunder team, a Mavs team coming back off of a loss like that, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that they don't have the capability to do it. It's just that we haven't seen it yet. We just haven't, right? And it's been the moral of the story for the Celtics where they cannot get it done, right? Like for them, the Celtics, it's championship or bust
Mm-hmm.
every season from now on, right? Especially this season, for
Yep.
sure, right? So I don't want to hear any excuses. I don't care. Oh, KP is injured. This I don't care about Tatum. Is this and that. The story for their game, like, and I'm be honest, I'm not gonna watch another Celtics game or pay attention too closer to it until they reach the finals, because that's when they're judged the most. And that's how Tatum is going to be judged the most,
Mm-hmm.
right? We got to talk about this, because Tatum, he is a guy where when you look at MVP convo, the reason why he's not, well, I hate to say it, right? But it's kind of true. There's some truth to it where, people don't put him in that conversation because of what's happened over the past few years,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I feel like that's, a lot of people, you can say what you want, but it has a factor into it. It has, right?
Yeah.
But it all goes to and it all goes to see how the team is going to play, when they're down. But when they're up, they do what they do. I mean, I can't say nothing more about the Celtics. They just got the job done.
Yeah. I mean, that's one thing that I can say about the Celtics is that, listen, they've taken care of business, right? There's a lot of discourse around, they haven't played anybody, this and that. Bottom line, they've lost 2 games in 2 series, right? So, regardless of who they're playing, they're taking care of business. And that's what the good teams do, right? You know, the good teams, they take care of business. They beat who was in front of them. It would be alarming if against these teams, if they were going to game sixes, going to game sevens, right? But, they might lose 1 game, but they they take care of business. So I gotta give all respect to them and what they've done so far in the season. But you were
Mm-hmm.
100% correct. The judgment day comes once they hit the finals, right? Because this is
Yep.
a team that has been uber competitive and successful for the last, 6 years, better half of a decade, right? Really since Jason Tatum hit the scene. So that's kind of the gift and the curse of going to a historic franchise, a franchise that, you know, has been able to win a lot of games, is you have to be able to capitalize on those moments, because if you don't,
Mm-hmm.
you're 100% under the microscope compared to, being in a small market team, not really winning. Like, yeah, you're not winning, but the expectations aren't as high, right? So that's the reality of a Jason Tatum, right? Because if you're talking about a guy that, if one of those years, if, that team capitalizes, he is instantly launched into, we're talking about who's going to be the face of the league once, the LeBrons, the KDs, the Stephs are going. The way that we're talking about Anthony Edwards, Shea, Luca, all these young guys, even Wemby. We like Jason Tatum's name should be in that conversation, and not
Mm-hmm.
because his talent isn't there is the reason why he's not there. It's just the production, right? Because we know Jason Tatum is capable of more. He just hasn't shown it yet. So who knows? Like, we'll see. But I've been saying this entire playoff run, there should be no reason why the Celtics don't sleepwalk into the final.
Off all the mic. But no, but yeah, moving on. You got the Mavericks and Thunder. Boy, it's been really interesting. It's definitely, honestly, besides the Celtics and the not the Celtics, the Wolves and the Nuggets matchup, it's definitely one of the more competitive, more physical matchups, right? Almost every game has been very close in a sense, right? There's no blowouts, right? Really, um, but yeah, game five, game six, game five, the Thunder won. Pretty sure it was 96-100. That game frustrated the heck out of me, because I know that we had the lead for most of the time, and then we gave it up.
You mean game 4? Wait.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right. Game
Yeah,
four.
yeah.
Yeah, my fault. Yeah, game four. Game four. But like, we gave it up near the end, last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter,
Hmm.
right? And the Thunder, they just caught fire, right? And at that point, it was like I felt like every moment in the fourth quarter, I was just yelling at my computer screen, or my TV screen rather. And it's like, what are we doing? Can we get a bucket, right? What's going on? We're being very careless with the ball, right? It's like it's like we're trying to do too much instead of doing less, right? Sometimes doing less is better than doing more, right? And it's just frustrating for me to see that playing a team against a Thunder where they're young, that you have more experience in them in the playoffs, right? You should have that mindset of like, let us do our thing and go with the flow instead of like making stuff happen, right? And I get that, like, doing that, you want to force the action, but not this team right now, and not how the way the series has gone so far. because what we've seen throughout these these playoff games against the Mavs and Thunder is that there will be moments where both teams will catch fire soon, right? It's not a matter of uh, it's not a matter of like what time or like when, but like where. You know what I mean? And so it's definitely gonna be interesting how they attack Game 6 as they're playing right now, right? But the Mavs did bounce back when they came against the Thunder. They played at OKC, right? And Luca finally had a great game. 30 point triple double, 31 points, 10 rebounds, 11 assists, one block, right? And it was a crucial block at that too near the end of the game on Shea, right? And then shout out to Derek Jones Jr., man, who we know that he has very great defense, but he showed up with 19 points. And obviously PJ didn't have the best of games, but he still gave you a double-double, I believe, right? And Lively, I'm loving the development, man. As much as I, keep on shouting at Lively, like how he misses blown dunks and stuff like that. It's just part of the thing that he just got to grow from, right? And he's a rookie at that, right? So it's like I can't get too mad at him, right? And he's making his free throws as well. Like they tried to do a hack a Lively again, and he's making his free throws. So I credit the rookie for that, And Gafford still doing his thing, making things tough on Shet every time he gets in the paint, right? Being that the enforcer he is, getting blocks and then changing shots and stuff like that when they're trying to go at him. And Kyrie, this series has been a little interesting, to say the very least, for him, right? Obviously, we know Kyrie to be the scorer, right? And it's like one of those things where if Luka and Kyrie don't combine for like 50 points or at least, it's like we're not gonna get a win. But I think this goes to show that Kyrie is finding other ways to contribute than scoring, right? And more so is more with his passing ability, but also his defensive capability, right? I want to put and we all know Kai. He loves his stats. He loves his stats, man. And I'm gonna provide you two stats here. One stat is that, and he probably already knows, he's top 5 in steals in playoffs. Was averaging 1.5. And then he's also winning guarded 1-on-1, right? Whoever he's guarding with, 18% field goal percentage. Insane, right? And so to have that guy, duking it out on the defensive end, and then but also making the right play and not forcing the action on the offensive end, it's just been very impressive, right? And I think going to just Game 6 as they're playing right now, I'm hoping that Kyrie is going to show us something because he's 13-0 in closeout games, and people might say that it's all due to LeBron and stuff like that, but hey, he has a part in those closeout games, right? And so, it's going to be definitely interesting. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but, it's going to be a battle. Of course, it's always going to be a battle, right? But I think the key to winning this game is Luka has to show up. If he just has a normal game, I mean like normal, just play normal. And I'm not saying 30 points or whatever. I'm just saying limit the turnovers. The less turnovers we have and the more rebounds we have, we should be good because I believe that Luka, I believe that PJ Washington. It's crazy to say. I'm trusting other guys not named Luka and Kyrie, right? And I trust these guys to get it done. But like I said, it's going to come down to wire, and I think it's going to come down to the star player making the plays, right? And I know Shea has been making great plays, but his other guys got to step up, right? So it's kind of the opposite of what Luka got. Like Luka has been showing up a little bit, but his whole team is uplifting him, right? SGA is kind of the opposite, right? So it's all a matter of who's showing up more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You pretty much hit everything. But like you said about Shea, he had 30 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists, 3 stocks, and nobody else on his team had more than 13 points. That's just not going to cut it. You know what I mean? And it's kind of the trend of every single game that OKC has lost. They've lost it because, Shea can't get any help, right? You can't play 1-on-5. Like somebody has to show up on the offensive side and get a bucket besides him. And so far, nobody has been able to do that in Oklahoma City. But this with this game specifically, right? You know, like you said, I love my stats. This just not going to cut it. You know, OKC shot 25% from three compared to Dallas's 40%. Um, you know, we've been talking about this all playoffs, and no matter what the matchup, rebounding. OKC with 33 rebounds, Dallas with 46, right? Like that's not going to cut it, and it's crazy because Dallas had more turnovers. So it was 14-6 in terms of turnover margin, and you would think with that big of a discrepancy in turnovers that OKC would be able to make some plays, but they just could not hit a shot, especially from the outside. So again, like every series, right? Besides the Celtics series, it's good. Like you said, it's going to come down to the wire, and it's going to be an amazing Game 6. And
Mhm.
listen, it just all comes down to who is going to show up, who's going to make those plays. So we'll see.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that's the theme. That's a main theme for the game, round two, man. And it's been hard, tough, right? Like the littlest things, the little like the playoffs nowadays is all by fine margins, right? And so it's not. It's like every play counts, literally every play counts, right? And it's just going to be very interesting how how these games are. There's a potential, if the Mavericks lose tonight, then it also goes to Game 7, and we got 3 Game 7s in one round, and I don't think that's I don't know I don't know if there's a stat on that, but I haven't seen that in such a long time, right? And so it's definitely making this playoff run for every in general, right, East and West, just a lot more interesting, right? And like you said, feeding families.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, can you really ask for anything more in terms of basketball and the product that's been put in front of us? Um, and it's only going to get better, right? Because we're only going to get two of the best teams from both conferences battling out for a trip to the finals. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll definitely be on the lookout for more content from our side in terms of some recaps and our thoughts on the games, right? Again, I love the support that you guys have been showing us, right? Even with our somewhat inconsistent uploading in the recent times, just life and. But we're going to keep this train going. We're going to keep it moving. You guys have always continued to show up. So again, appreciate you guys. Make sure you guys continue to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And leave your thoughts down below, right?
Yes,
Right. Leave your
sir.
thoughts down below in the comments of how you think about this playoff series all across the board, right? Who are your predictions in these game sevens, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Let us
you
know.
know, with that being said, this has been No Bullshit Podcast, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Yes, sir. Peace out.